Could this one move fix everything the Red Sox are looking for offensively? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and today we're going to be taking a look at one trade the Red Sox could make that could really make a big difference on the 2025 offense. We're going to be talking about what it may take to get him, and we're going to be talking about some complications that may stand in the way. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. To be totally honest with you, the Red Sox offense didn't really feel like a major problem last year, or at least most of it, right? Every single major category that the Red Sox could be judged in, average, on base percentage, all that good stuff, they are a top 10 offense, or they were a top 10 offense in baseball. Now, the reason we're talking about this is because there's always room for improvement, and the Red Sox know that. In fact, like we've been talking about this entire offseason, Craig Breslo's been really adamant that one of the big goals for the 2025 Sox is to really balance out their lineup. They want to get more right-handed hitters in here to do more damage from that side. That's why one of the most mentioned names amongst Red Sox fans when it comes to trade proposals this offseason has been a guy by the name of Brent Rooker. And it's for really good reason. Brent was one of the best right-handed hitters in baseball last year. Brent was a little bit of a late bloomer, really coming into his own at the plate when he came to the Oakland Athletics back in 2023. And at 28 years old, he finished with a 246 average, a 329 on base percentage, and a 488 slug for a 127 OPS plus. He also had 30 home runs and 20 doubles on the year last year. This was his first All-Star appearance. He really started to make a name for himself in 2023. 2024, though, he absolutely exploded. He finished the 2024 season with a 293 average, a 365 on base percentage, and a 562 slug for a whopping 165 OPS plus. That's about 65% more production from the plate than the average player in Major League Baseball. During that time, he also had 39 home runs, 26 doubles, and 112 RBIs. He was a flat-out monster from the right-hand side. But specifically for the Red Sox, you were talking about one of the best pull hitters in the game right now. Almost all of his home runs came from the pull side, and we all know what a pull-happy righty with some serious power can do at Fenway Park with 81 games. But just to hammer that point home, here is his spray chart overlaid on Fenway Park. To me, this looks like a dude who could do a whole lot of damage in the Red Sox system, right? If you put him at Fenway Park in 81 games, he's going to absolutely obliterate the Green Monster. For the Red Sox, that's a really good thing. That's exactly what they're looking for, right? And on top of that, too, when we're talking about specific reasoning for the Red Sox, outside of just simply pull power, one, he was a higher contact righty, right? That average was close to 300 this season. That's a guy who's going to make a lot of contact from the right-hand side of the plate, and he was really clutch in big situations. In high-leverage situations this season, that average jumped up to 330 with a 392 on base percentage and a similar 536 slug. So he's a high-power, clutch righty. To me, that sounds like a pretty sweet deal. If the Red Sox are really looking to balance out their lineup coming into 2025, Brent Rooker could be an absolutely perfect option. And on top of that, he's going to be budget friendly. We know the Red Sox like themselves some deals, and Brent Rooker still under arbitration until the 2028 season, meaning you're going to get 3 full seasons out of Brent Rooker before you have to literally lock him up for the next couple of years. He's going to be cheaper than some of the options available on the open market, and it's going to be able to potentially have similar, if not better, impacts on this Red Sox team. Now, he is 30 years old, so arbitration's a little bit interesting here, which means that he's not going to be a free agent until he's 33, 34 years old, and that could be a concern with the Red Sox, as he did start to make his real mark in Major League Baseball a little bit older than you typically see with players like this. But at the same time, too, if you're primarily a DH and you're primarily a right-handed power hitter, I don't think it's going to be a huge problem that his age is getting up there. So you take a look at the fit with the Boston Red Sox, and it feels like, to me, an absolutely perfect match. It fixes basically everything the Red Sox are looking for from a right-handed hitter. But not everything is super easy, and when it comes to the Red Sox, it feels like everything is complicated. So there are absolutely some complications with this idea. So let's take a look at some possible trade proposals and what those complications may be to ultimately decide if we think this is someone the Red Sox should target this offseason. Getting Brent Rooker from the A's isn't going to be incredibly easy, and that's not because I don't think he's going to not be available. I think the A's are going to absolutely dangle his name on the open market, see what they could possibly get, especially with their model. He's 30 years old. It feels like exactly the person they would trade away this offseason, but mostly because of the value he has. Now, we did mention his age, right? We've talked about it a couple of times now, and I did mention the fact that he is a primary DH, so his limitations on the field and the age attached to him, combined with, hey, it's only been 2 legitimately productive seasons from Brent Rooker, may bring his value down a little bit. It's still going to be a significant cost for the Red Sox. Baseball Trade Values has Brent Rooker right around $30 million in value, which means a trade package which includes guys like Wilyer Abreu, Chase Meidroth, and Hunter Dobbins would hypothetically get this deal done. Personally, I think it's going to take a little bit more than that, whether that be another minor league pitcher, whether that be a guy like David Hamilton or Nick Sogard to really sort of sweeten this deal home for the Red Sox, specifically for the A's. I think it's going to take a little bit more than what they laid out on the table. And so then the question becomes, this is a pretty big risk for the Red Sox, right? This is a pretty loaded package. There's a lot of possible impactful guys on this list of guys you are sending over to the Oakland Athletics. Is this something you are willing to take, and are you willing to go to the lengths it would take to really sort of overwhelm the A's into letting go of Brent Rooker? And I think that's where these complications start to come in, because the first complication here is that I think you have to have Wilyer Abreu in this deal. I think this only works if the A's are interested in Wilyer Abreu, not because I think the Red Sox need to get rid of Wilyer Abreu, but I think in terms of achieving their ultimate goal of balancing out this lineup, a lefty has to go, right? Massa isn't going to be worth enough, and the A's certainly aren't going to take on that contract. Jarren Duran is worth too much and probably shouldn't be mentioned in names like Brent Rooker. Tristan Casas, in my opinion, should be used if you are going to trade him for a little bit more than that. But 2, even if you trade for Brent Rooker, you still don't really have a spot to put him if you trade Tristan Casas. So really the only option left here is Wilyer Abreu in that deal. And again, that's a big ask for this Red Sox team, but it becomes even more complicated because even if you do trade Wilyer Abreu, even if you can get the A's to agree to a Wilyer Abreu deal, which I don't think will be too hard. Wilyer Abreu is a Rookie of the Year candidate, a Gold Glove candidate, and he just won a fielding award himself. So it's not exactly like you're throwing a scrub out there or anything, but even if you do get them to agree to that, I think you still got to move Masataka Yoshida. Now, Brent Rooker isn't a terrible defender. He's not a good defender, but he's not a terrible one either. I think especially at left field at Fenway Park, he would actually end up being a serviceable outfielder, which means you do have some options versatility-wise with Brent Rooker on the Boston Red Sox. The problem is, if you hang on to Masataka Yoshida, you now have 2 primary DHs with limited fielding abilities on your roster. With all the athleticism coming up from the minor leagues over the next few months, over the next couple of years, it doesn't make a ton of sense to have 2 guys who are going to be primary DHs on your roster, right? You're going to have to choose one of them. And if you trade for Brent Rooker, well, then the choice is already made. So I do think this trade only works if 2 things happen. If Wilyer's included in this deal and Moss is on the move as well. The problem with this is that this is sort of the same conversation we're going to have with every potential offensive fit for the Red Sox, because right now there's no clear perfect fit for this Red Sox team. Whether you want a guy like Rooker or O'Neill or Teoscar or Santander or even Bregman, pieces are going to have to get moved to make that work. So I don't know if that should be an absolute deal breaker for the Red Sox, but I do think it's going to make it a little bit harder for them to truly say yes to this, because if you do trade for Brent Rooker, then your backs are up against the wall and you kind of have to just dump Masataka Yoshida. You have to figure out how to get that without putting yourselves into a corner, and I think that's a big thing with Rooker, or really any other offensive player the Red Sox are going to take a look at. The other thing I wanted to bring up in terms of a possible complication here for Brent Rooker is his strikeout rate. Like I said, the Red Sox were one of the better offenses in the game when it came to most measurable categories. One of the big ones they struggled in, and one of the big ones we've talked about this entire offseason, is their strikeout rate. They were the 3rd worst in baseball when it came to strikeouts. Brent Rooker doesn't really help with that a lot. This season, he struck out 28.8% of the time. That's good for just the 10th percentile in Major League Baseball. He was well below average with that swing and miss. That is technically, though, marginally better than Tyler O'Neill, who, again, like we've talked about a bunch, struck out a 1/3 of the time this year. He was basically one of the worst swing and misses in baseball this season. It would be marginally better than O'Neill, but would it be good enough for the Red Sox to take a risk on the trade package involved? Because it's not just the player himself, it's also the players that the Red Sox are giving up. They have to figure out if the risk risk is worth the reward. And personally, especially with the fact that he almost hit 300 this season, I think the contact ability and I think the walk rate, which is also higher than league average, pretty much negates the strikeout rate a little bit, especially with how that strikeout rate dropped in high leverage situations this season. But at the same time, too, I think that's absolutely or should absolutely be part of the equation for the Red Sox when they are determining whether or not this is someone that they want to target. And speaking of that, that leads me right back to the main point of this video. Could this one trade fix the Red Sox offense this offseason? I think looking at it on paper, yes. I think the ultimate answer is yes, but I do think it's more complicated than that. I think it is a big risk for this Red Sox team. You are essentially saying, hey, look, we're going to give away one of our more promising younger players for a 30-year-old primary DH who has had 2 significant seasons in Major League Baseball and 3 other kind of below average, I'll say, seasons behind him, right? That's a bit of a risk here, and I think the process you are going to have to take in order to fit him into the everyday lineup is going to be a bit of a risk as well. So it is yes, but it's also what is it going to look like in not just the vacuum of Brent Rooker, but the overall outlook of the Red Sox offseason. It's a really complicated question to answer, and I think a lot of the players that we are going to talk about offensively are going to come with the same complications. But man, Brent Rooker is an incredible talent. He's a great guy. He's a great baseball personality and mind, and I really think he'd fit perfectly with what the Red Sox are trying to do over these next couple of years. If I'm the Red Sox, this is absolutely my number one offensive trade target this offseason. But again, it all comes down to the risk versus reward. And so I want to ask you guys, you're the Red Sox GM right now. Is this someone that you would target? And do you agree with my complications? Is this someone that the Red Sox need to trade Wilyer for and Massa? If you were the Red Sox GM, would you do it? And what would you give up to get it done? Let me know all your thoughts on Brent Rooker in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It just simply helps these videos out a ton. It's the best way to let me know you're enjoying the content. Don't forget, if you want to listen instead of watch, all you got to do is head over to your favorite podcasting app and look up Red Seat Radio. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the Red Seats.